welcome to the shop. We've got some security wall repair work in progress. How things get done in Thailand is an interesting proposition. Anyway, it's a fairly lovely day. What do we got going? Well, putting together a new bike. Ritchey Road Logic, steel frame, BSA, thread fit bottom bracket, external cable routing. It's beautiful. It's going to be swell. Ritchey components are nicely designed. A lot of craftsmanship involved. Once again, I'm going with Rotor cranksets. It's hard to beat this crankset. It's damn good. It's light. It's strong. In this case, the previous bike, the Yo-Yo, had a 50-34. This is a 46-30. Why'd I do that? Well, the bike I had been riding for the last 17 years, my Seafox, made in France, has a triple chain ring. It's a 52, 53, 42, 30. So essentially what this does is converts the triple to a double, gets rid of the 53, increases the 42 to a 46, and the low gear ring's the same. So that's actually, considering I ride around here in these parts on that 42 tooth chain ring on the Seafox all the time. Occasionally I'll put it up on the big ring. Not much, it's not necessary. I mean, you can't go but so fast around here, otherwise you're going to kill yourself. So this is going to be a little bit more aggressive than the 42, obviously, and I still have the same low gear here. On the back, I'm putting an unusual cassette, a 14-28 11-speed cassette on the back. Once again, the Seafox has a Campy record cassette. It's 13-26. I'm never in that 13-tooth cog, almost never. I was a few times up in the mountains when I was riding around Colorado, going downhill just to see how fast I could get the damn thing going. I'm almost never going to be in the 14-tooth cog on this. And that 28 gives me a lower gear, even with the Campy triple I had. This is going to be a lower gear combination, 30-28. Bottom bracket. Well, I thought about doing a Hambini bottom bracket, a BSA, but his website doesn't have it. It's out of stock, or he stopped making it, I don't know. There's plenty of good bottom brackets out there. The thread fit is tried and true. It's a bulletproof design. This is an Enduro bottom bracket, and it's the XD-15, which is the top of the line for Enduro. What I like about this design, which separates it from Hambini's design, most of the bottom brackets out there are being made to utilize industrial design bearings, deep groove bearings. Those bearings are fine bearings, mighty fine, no doubt about it. But as I found out when I installed the 24mm axle on Hambini's bottom bracket, because it was a BB86 frame, 6805 bearings are not 24mm inside diameter, they're 25. So those little Delrin caps and sleeves are designed to take up that 1 mil difference between the diameter of the spindle and the interior diameter of the bearing that you're using. Enduro makes bearings specifically designed for cycling. So if you need a bearing for a 24 millimeter spindle, you can get a 24 millimeter bearing. That just seems smart to me. In this case, I'm using a 30 mil spindle. Once again, no problem, 30 mil. Either way with 30 mil, that's one of the benefits of a 30 mil spindle is you can use an industrial design like SKF or NTN, FAG, because the next step up from a 6805 is a 30 mil. So 25, 30, 35, 40, that's how that works. 6805 is 25. But the Shimano axle's 24, so thus you see a lot of bottom bracket designs with those Delrin sleeves or plastic sleeves, whatever. And this kind of sidesteps all the issues I had installing the bottom bracket. The other thing about the bearings, the Enduro bearings that are quite smart, these are angular contact bearings. It's essentially a cup and cone style of design, but it's in a cartridge bearing. So it's still a cartridge bearing, but it's angular contact. In this case, 15 degrees. What's that do? Deep groove bearings do not handle axial load well. Angular contact bearings do. So I would think that an angular contact bearing makes a whole lot of sense in the bottom bracket. It's the same reason why Campagnolo and Shimano make wheels with cup and cone bearings. It's a bulletproof design. It's really simple, lasts forever. Angular contact, that's what it is, cup and cone. So it's the same thing here. Now I put ceramic bearings in here. Now I know Mr. Hambini has his take on ceramic bearings, and I've read about that. And I just kind of accepted that, not knowing one thing or another, but the more I read, the steel races on these bearings are not going to get pitted. The steel races on these bearings are not going to get pitted by the hard ceramic balls. These steel races are super hard. It's just not going to happen. Now, I haven't seen Hambini's chest rig and how he derived the data that he did, showing how ceramic bearings after 200 kilometers even start becoming less efficient than a typical steel bearing like an NTN. And I haven't seen how he did those tests. I'd like to see that. But anyway, if you get on the Enduro website and read it, it's pretty damn thorough. They talk about how things work. In any case, it's not the end of the world. And I thought I'd just give it a test. I'm going to do something different. And that's the whole point for me, is I want to try different things. I'm just learning, just like most of y'all. Some of you are smart engineers and could probably tell me, but TR, Tom Ritchey. You get that little touches. You can't really see it there, but because we're filming into the sun, but there's the same thing there. The logo embossed into the steel dropout. There's even one of those logos on the bottom of the bottom bracket. Now the interesting thing I bought this bike frame from a shop in North Bangkok. They're the distributors in Thailand. It's a small shop and they just do high-end stuff. They're the distributors in Thailand for Enduro and for Ritchey, Cane Creek, some other stuff, Silka. The owner of the shop is a pro. He wanted to do the bottom bracket install because they're going to warranty the work. So I bought this from my local bike shop, and I bought the bottom bracket and the frame from them, and he put it in. He kind of went over the whole thing. I'm going to do a little video presentation on it. I watched how he did it. There's no problem for him. He's confident about what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. But this little cable guide on the bottom of the bottom bracket shell, the derailleur cables feed through this thing. It's held in place as usual with a little short bolt. Now, that bolt turned out to be just a little bit too long, given that we put a 30mm spindle in here. That bolt was bottoming out on the outside edge of the spindle, so it wouldn't lock this plastic guide in place. So Dom had to take that bolt out, and he just grinded the edge down and made it fit. But I found that a bit curious, why the length of that bolt. It really just needs to be long enough to protrude through the shell, doesn't it? So that's what Kun Dom made happen. Now I like this bike. I like the color. I like the logo. It doesn't scream. I like the name of the bike. I was a philosophy and logic student, so I saw that and I said, well, there you go. It's gray like me and it speaks about logic, so it seemed like a natural. Ritchey carbon stem spacers. Man, those things are like 110 baht per piece. Now that's about $3 per piece. And I think, well, that's kind of crazy. But then I looked at the stems and they're really nice. They're not the sort of typical 3K weave stem that you can buy for, what, 15, 20 cents? I don't know. The stem is actually an alloy stem, but it's wrapped with carbon. They call it a carbon matrix. It's actually lighter than the Superlative stem, which is their top of the line. It's crazy. I don't know. There's that logo again. Everything looks nice. It's well designed. The welds on this are super nice. He's been making frames forever. Now this stuff is made in Taiwan anymore. Tom Ritchey's not in his dad's garage anymore, building frames like he used to. But it's going to be fun putting this together. It's going to be a cool looking ride, and it's going to ride nice. What else? Ritchey Superlative 1-bolt seat post, 350mm long. Superlative Evo curve handlebars, compact. You can see that bit of that curve there where your hand fits. Supposedly that's ergonomic design. We'll see how that feels. I'm sure it'll be fine. Coated brake cables, Enduro bottom bracket, XD-15 bearings. I'm putting regular Ultegra mechanic setup on here. I had the calipers already, they're brand new. But everything else is just Ultegra. And it's an old style bike, so I could have done SRAM. They have completely wireless. Could have done that for shifting, because you don't have to run any wires. Shimano, the new semi-wireless Shimano, you still have to run wires for the battery and the derailleurs. It's the front end that saves you the aggravation of running wires from the cockpit. That's that little 1428. Now I bought this when I was setting up the yo-yo bike. I bought this, I bought a rotor, which I put on the bike, and I bought another 1132 Ultegra. So my idea is I'm going to take an existing set of wheels, the Campagnolo Eurus. They're alloy wheels. And I'm going to use those on this bike with the 1428 on it. And then I'm going to shop around and look for a set of tubular, probably carbon rims. And I'm going to do a slightly lower profile rim in the front, a little bit more in the back. Is that going to help me at age 70? Probably fuck no, but that's what I'm going to do. Now this guy, he's a freak when it comes to testing for friction. You've probably read of it. Adam Kieran, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the last name. But he'll talk to you at great length about his ideas, and he does on his website, Zero Friction Cycling. And according to him, this here YBN chain is pretty much as good as it gets. You can pay more. And given that I do waxing, instead of lubing the chain, I'll wax it. He says that in his test, the wax adheres and holds onto this chain better than on a KMC. Now I bought the top line KMC chain, and it costs a lot of money, and he actually says the wax just doesn't hold to KMC chains as well for some reason. YBN is the way to go. Now YBN makes a chain that you have to pay $250 and up to get that chain. The only difference between that one and this one, this is titanium, but not all the parts are titanium. The rollers are titanium on the more expensive one. $280 on the web for that chain. Now it's just kind of crazy. If you have the money, go ahead, spend it, make yourself happy. Gray bar tape, why not? Wahoo Speedplay pedals. Now we just got these available in Thailand. I was really hoping by this time Wahoo would have figured out their pedal-based power meter, but they don't. So I'll talk about this a little more later. Some new lights, Silka bag, carbon cages, 690 baht. That's about $20. That's kind of crazy, but I like to support my local bike shop, and that's what he had that appealed to me, so I said $20. It's not the end of the world. $20. This stuff here, that little syringe of their precious bearing grease, and it's really nice grease. I saw what they were using. That's $20 for that damn thing. Now that's going to last quite a while because you're not going to use much of that. And it's brand new, so anyway. That's what we got going. I've set up a spreadsheet here to track estimated weight, which is based on me scaling each one of those parts, or the website claimed weights, which I'm finding are pretty darn close, and then the cost running total for all the parts. There's a few entries I haven't put on here, but that's going to be a little bit over a little over $3,000. It's a cool spreadsheet. If anybody's interested in it, let me know. I'll shoot it off to you. But it just lists where I bought the item, the items, their weights, their item costs. And this is stuff I bought from a local bike shop. And then other vendors, stuff off the web or whatever. Some other data. But anyway, this spreadsheet. And this is a fitting. I did a bike fitting for this Guru. It's a pretty cool system. That's worth a short post to describe it. But I took the data that they came up with for me riding the Guru bike, pedaling it, being tested, and they've set the stem, put that in, the rest of the stuff, seat set back on an XY axis. The setback is how far behind the Y axis line the nose of the seat goes. So that's how you set that up. So all these different adjustment points are coordinates on an XY axis. So I've got that laser level there that I'm going to use. Set the XY axis, and what is that? That's an intersection of the two laser lines right through the middle of that spindle. So you set that laser up so it's casting a vertical and a horizontal line, and those lines will go all the way up, and you can find the reference point to that line for all of these settings. The effective reach, where on the handlebars the shifters are mounted, the angle of the bars, all of that stuff. Anyway, that's what we're planning on doing. Come along for the ride.